Welcome to this week's episode of Cattwampus. And I've got a special friend and guest with me today, Miss Donna. And her bodyguard is sitting behind her in case I say anything that upsets her. So I'm a little afraid I might get my ass whooped today. But it is good to have both of y'all here with us. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
So, question for you. We met a while back, but what was your first impression when we met? Because there's someone in the studio that's recording. I won't tell you what he thought about me. I heard you hear that giggle, right? I don't know if you can hear it if you're listening, but there was this giggle and gasp. I think it's past trauma that's coming back up in his life thinking about that. But what was your first, now honestly, don't sugarcoat it. When you first met me, what was your first impression?
Well, don't be let down by this, but
I'm not going to be let down by it.
you're a dude and you put on your pants one leg at a time like I do. Knowing you were in recovery.
I do put them on it twice at a time. I do it.
Sometimes.
I'm efficient.
In a hurry.
Yeah.
But I know you're in recovery,
Right.
and I know you're a man of God, and those are the people I have in my life. So knowing that when I met you made sense when I met you. I know you're driven, and I think you have people around you that you like to push and encourage. Not push in a negative way, but encourage to be all they can be.
Yeah, that's good. That's better than his. His was not very nice. I'm saying, may need to make amends with him. I may be carrying a resentment, but yeah. On a serious note, it's always really good to have someone on the show that if you've known someone for 20 years, it's one thing. If you've known someone for 2 or 3 years, or maybe it's a little bit longer than that now, or is it about 3?
A little over 3.
Or a little bit, around 3-ish, 3 years. The last 3, 4, 5 years have been really awesome, especially on a ministry side. For Vision Warriors, has really grown and is growing, and it's like Jason, your husband, he said he feels like we're about to give birth from a ministry's perspective because of everything that's been happening and growing, and we're kind of sitting there anticipating and praying what's next. And I just thank you for living on main campus with a bunch of dudes that are in recovery, people coming in and out to different meetings there and all the time. And you got your bird seat in your office back there watching out. Ms. Young would be proud. She sat there and watched everything. That was her favorite place, she said, to pray in the ministry, not in the chapel, not anywhere else, was at that window because she could look over and see everything there. So for those that are watching or listening that don't know, is that you and Jason live on one of our campuses, the main campus for Vision Warriors. And I just appreciate all the service that y'all give, because y'all are fully accessible. And you said it today, you have the gift of availability, and y'all use it really. You're very good stewards of the availability that you have. And I know the women and the mothers and all the ladies that are attached to our guys, we can't lead them and encourage them and minister to them the way that you can. And you do it because you want to rather than because you have to. And it's seen, felt, and I'm grateful for you. So
Thank you.
So what's it like living on Vision Warriors main campus?
Some days it's fully cattywampus.
Oh, come on. There's no cattywampus folks around there.
I will tell you when Jason called me after you called him and told him, God led you in that direction for us to be there as a symbol of hope, maybe of what can come.
Yeah.
We've known each other since we were 14 years old, but God took us in different directions. But when he called me and said, hey, Kirk wants us to come on campus, and immediately I was like, okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I had peace about it. I didn't even stop and pray. Because I know that about my husband. I know that he would not bring that opportunity. But then I found myself as I'm packing and getting ready to move, I'm in my head and I'm nervous and I'm like, these people are going to knock on our door at 3 a.m. I can never sunbathe again out in public. And I just had to stop and center myself and realize that I'm just peaceful. My mind and the ways of the world want me to worry about everything. And I couldn't tell you the last time I even laid out at home for a tan.
Jason was laying out there the other day. His little little Georgia flag, little Speedo bikini out there. I was like, Lord have mercy.
But the
Yeah.
opportunity, knowing that when preparation meets opportunity, you have to say yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're grateful for it. No one's knocking on your door at 3 a.m., which I'm even more grateful for. We've got an incredible team of people that are on staff and volunteers and everybody. It's just it's truly a blessing to see it and what's all going. So thank y'all for being a part of it. So if we jump on into this story that you're involved in, and that cattywampus moment, there might be a couple, but let's pick what is it that you would love to share with the viewers and everybody listening. Just what was that moment when your life was just completely jacked up and askew and awkward and just cattywampus?
Well, being from Alabama, I know firsthand what cattywampus means.
Oh yeah,
And applying that to my life, I was already living that lifestyle before I recognized how far gone I was in addiction and negative self talk behaviors. Didn't realize how empty I was. Even though I was born and raised in church, I did not have God active in my daily life. So knowing that I bought and sold a home when I was single, I I kept looking for, lack of a better phrase, sex, drugs, rock and roll to fill the void in my heart, the void in my life. And little did I know at that time that the only thing to fill that void is God Himself.
yeah,
And a series of events, I truly believe that my addiction is a disease, but the active choices I was making, I ended up one night, I blacked out and continued drinking. I was home alone. I I don't remember the next 6 to 8 hours, but my mother tells me that I called her and I didn't speak, and she could hear the TV in the background, and she hung up on me and called back, and I answered and still didn't speak, and she could hear the TV in the background. She called my sister, who lived about a mile away, and my sister was like, "Ah, not again. She'll be fine. Let her sleep it off." And my sister and brother in law came over that night.
mm,
I was rushed to Kennestone Hospital over comatose levels of alcohol poisoning. I had a bleeding ulcer. I was just physically at my end. And when I came to in the ICU, up in the trauma unit, um, I woke, and first thing I remember, I had a breath of fresh air and a feeling of hope that I hadn't had since I was 9 years old when I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And I remember seeing my mother sitting at the foot of the bed with her head in her hands, and I knew she was in prayer. And I don't remember that 6 to 8 hour blackout. And I pray, I want to remember that because I know I would not be here today if there wasn't purpose. So, not exactly cattywampus, but that was my aha moment that I knew
well,
there was more.
that's pretty cattywampus.
So,
Let's just go ahead. I mean, we could run a straw poll with everybody in the room,
yeah.
but we don't need to. That's pretty cattywampus,
So,
right?
the
So,
next, about a half hour later, the doctor came in and he said, and this was a visual, he said, "You're lucky to be here, young lady." He called me young, so I was 48 at that point. And he said, "You can choose to live or you can choose to die. Which will it be?"
mm,
And we talked. I went by ambulance to a great place down in Smyrna. I chose to live, and I choose to live every day. That's what I know. I didn't know how to, but I found people that knew because it worked for them, and I listened.
yeah. So you find yourself in a hospital with a choice to make. You say, "I choose to live," which I'm grateful you made that. There's a lot of people that don't make that choice. So you chose to live. They transport you to a facility to help you through that process.
Hmm.
What have you, two or three things that you learned about yourself there, or you've learned about yourself from then to now?
I recognized, I do the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was very active in church when I was very active in my addiction. And
Well, so
God,
you can go to church and be active in
you
addiction.
can.
Oh, I just making
You
sure.
can.
I just making
Lots of
sure.
us
I
do.
was just making sure because there's a lot of people that don't understand that. But so there's at least
So,
two of us in this world that
yeah,
think that's possible.
I know
Okay.
that for certain.
Yeah.
Another thing I know on that note is that in AA, the first step, I'm powerless over alcohol and my life has become unmanageable. So I thought that, okay, I'll go to treatment. They'll teach me how to drink like a normal person. I can have a glass of wine at dinner. No, I am powerless. I am powerful because I have that choice. I choose to live a life free of drugs and alcohol. The second part of recovery is admitting that my life is unmanageable. Who drinks alone? I did. Isolates? I did. I didn't have a social life hardly at the end of my drinking because I didn't even want to be around myself. So how can I expect to have friends, um, friends when I
Yeah.
wasn't true to myself? Um, but being in that setting, admitting my life was unmanageable, I have not one but two DUIs. I have 18 years between them. And nothing filled that void. I was looking for validation, love, acceptance out of anything or anybody else besides the one that made me. And we're all made in his image. So,
Do you think when you're church going in active addiction rather than church going and fully surrendered, what do you think? What's the biggest difference there?
well, I think that, well, I know this in my story that I had people just say, why don't you just quit? If it was only that easy.
Yeah.
So, what I have learned is that we addicts, alcoholics, we are not bad people trying to be good. We are sick people trying to get well.
Well,
And
that's
there
great.
there is the obsession of the mind because I can't stop thinking about my next fix, my next drink, my next whatever because I don't want to feel the way I feel. But there's the allergy of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that gave me some power. If I am not part of my problem, I can't be part of the solution. And being active in church, God just fix me. God just do this.
Yeah.
Like I can tell God what to do.
Yeah.
I had to be open and receptive and completely broken before I could receive what he had in store for me. That's what
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I mean, it's when you look at what it takes to stay fully surrendered. And I just don't understand the tension between Jesus and some 12 steppers. It's like, it's a spiritual program. I mean, it's evident. It says it. I mean, it is, but yet every time you start talking about Jesus in most 12 step, they start getting upset. But they can talk about every other God of their understanding. And it's a God of understanding. And I think we all grow if we all hear and feel how people are navigating through. I don't have the only way, right? You don't have the only way. But man, how beneficial we can be when we just have conversations and see how people are relating spiritually to their program, and rather than just try to suppress one area. And I don't, that'll start a fight with somebody, I'm sure, on here in a
Mm-hmm.
comment. But it's like, come on, if your God can be a doorknob, why the hell can't I talk about my God as Jesus Christ? Like, this is what he's done for me. If your doorknob's done this for you, this is what Jesus done. I'm not perfect. I got a whole list of people you can call and they'll tell you I'm not perfect. But that obsession has been removed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because of my dependence and my willingness to stay surrendered in that area. I got
Mm-hmm.
plenty of other things I need to work on, right? One of them being my mouth. If you ask my wife, it's like you've got other vocabulary, but needless to say, I don't know, And then you go back to the church. It's kind of like if they don't have a supportive understanding of, well, why didn't you just quit? Finally you quit. Now just stay quit, come back. It's like, no, it's like, it's that relationship and building down through there. So, That's pretty awesome. So, what would you say are your double D's? Those daily disciplines that you do daily. You didn't smirk. No, we gotta
I
laugh.
smirked
Oh
inside.
yeah.
Touching on what you just said with the church, I my first discipline today is I get up and I have a daily relationship with God.
Yeah.
I bring God in every day. Even though I was born and raised in church, I saw my mother and my father in the Word. I did not have a daily relationship. I talked to God on Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. And, later on, when my head was in the toilet or when I needed to get out of this DUI or that
Yeah.
DUI, I didn't have a daily relationship. So today, I have a daily relationship. Bring God in. I can't, He can, so I let Him. I make my bed every day.
Mm.
It may seem so little, but I make my
I
bed
know you need to.
sometimes
I
at the
know.
detriment.
Yeah.
We're running late. Well, this is what I do.
So you need to remind he's got that's something he needs to be doing.
And he does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
I'll give him fair credit. But I hold myself accountable in a lot of ways I didn't. I keep my word. If my answer is no, sometimes you get a reason, but no is a complete sentence. I don't owe you the reason behind it. I don't owe anybody anything.
So in your active addiction, would you have when you said no, would you have explained that and more?
Oh, I've never said no in active addiction. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And then I was pre-gaming. There was an incident, Cattwampus, years before I got sober. And I was drinking and I was passed out, blacked out, could not be woke up when my parents showed up at my house for us to go to an event. And I don't remember them showing
You were
up.
just excited to go to the event.
Yeah,
I mean,
who doesn't pre-game?
Yeah.
Those behaviors.
The fact that you got a name for it, right? It's like, well, I was just pre-gaming. I mean, I understand what the problem is.
I
No,
heard that somewhere.
you were
Yeah.
just completely oblivious to what it, it's like, but, oh no, I was pre-gaming. Someone mixed my drink a little too strong for me because I was just pre-gaming.
But that was the mindset at the time.
Yeah, no.
I can go and I can have fun, but this will make me even more fun. This will make the event more fun. This,
Yeah.
that, the other. Whenever, today, life is good. I want to be present in every moment today. And, for years I didn't. I was not comfortable in my own skin. And I'm grateful I don't have to live that way anymore. I don't feel that way anymore.
It's pretty awesome though when you think about your pre-game preparation now to start every day is pretty much what you just talked through, right? And it's healthy and it's accountable and you're present. And pre-gaming beforehand was doing everything to make yourself feel a certain way so those around you would accept you or want you to be a part of, it's like and I've never really thought about that is that if you just look pre-gaming as a term to every day in active addiction, how much effort we're putting in to try to feel a certain way so that we don't feel another way. It's like it's nauseating.
It is.
It's really
tiring.
Yeah.
That's what you asked me to be here. I'm grateful for that. I'm humbled for that.
Yeah.
And I did some preparation. I watched some of these, but I've been in prayer.
So we got 2 viewers now. Hot stuff.
But I've been in
Yeah.
prayer about it.
Yeah.
Did it change my morning routine? No. But today I prayed more, let me hear more. Even before we left, I do my Christian devotionals and I do my recovery devotionals, daily reflections, and I have an Oswald Chambers. But bringing that in, and a lot of days they go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Because what I know for me is that I don't have recovery without God, and I don't have God without recovery. And I need church. I choose church, and I choose the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. They work for me. I go to each of them, both of them. I go to church with like-minded people seeking what I'm seeking, but they don't understand me as a recovering alcoholic. So I go to meetings because they are like-minded people seeking what I'm seeking, which is a life free of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And the people that get to know me, they know the God of my understanding.
Yeah.
My mother said, she's like, "Oh, good, you're in Alcoholics Anonymous. Then you can teach them about Jesus." No, Mama. I go to AA so they can teach me how to be a sober person and productive in this life.
You can show them what a life with Christ looks like. I mean, it's the perfect place to rip people out of the pits of hell, right? But not by preaching it, by showing it. I mean, we follow those, or at least I follow and are attracted to those that are living a life that I want to be a part of. And so it's pretty cool that we get to do that. And I would encourage anybody that's watching that's a believer in Jesus to be as involved as they can be in their local 12-step communities. Just to, if no other reason, to serve and greet people when they come onto your church. Probably just say, "We're really excited you came here for this. I'd love to grab a cup of coffee with you, maybe have you come back Sunday morning." I mean, what would church look like if you were of all the 12-step support groups across all denominations that they're meeting, because we meet on a lot of church campuses. What would that look like? And when you pulled in, you had a personal invitation, and like, "Man, we're so glad that you're chasing after your vision for your life. We'd love to have you back sometime. Can we buy you a cup of coffee?"
I think it would help change, or there's a stigma on addiction. I'm not close
No, I
enough to
don't
God,
think that's
or I'm
not
not.
true.
Exactly.
No, that's not true.
But for so
Yeah.
long, I felt broken. I am not worthy enough even for God to fix me. And that is not it at all. I think there's a fear. They think we all ride motorcycles and we're in gangs no, well, some of us ride motorcycles. It's a life of, it's a freedom.
Yeah.
But I am closer to God than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And it is God of my understanding that I grew up with. A lot of people, though, in recovery, God of your understanding, because there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of past hurt from the church.
Yeah.
And the way maybe they were raised, the way they were shown. But like you just said, what I believe, God is in all of us. So I may be the only representation of Christ anybody ever sees. So why not do the kind thing, which is the next right thing?
Without a doubt. So how epic is life right now? So when we talked about where you were, you shared some great wisdom that you've learned and what you're applying to your life as you navigate through it. So how epic is life now?
I remember the year leading up to my recovery, to me being that broken, almost dying. And every morning I would wake up, just let me wake up a year from now and have it all be better. And now when I wake up that way, after time under my belt, many mornings waking up sober, the gratitude that I have for where I live, for the man I share my life with, the God that I serve, the people that I serve, I am happier and I am content. And content is not complacent. Content is not a boring life. I use all the hours and all the days. I've been unemployed for 7 months. But the life I have today, I still have that peace. God can move mountains in lives, but I have a wheelbarrow and a shovel that He's provided. And I have the gift of availability, the gift of time. I've grown my faith recently, I do what the next right thing is. I do what He calls me to do. And that's sometimes an idea that I know is right. The belly barometer. God lives in my gut. And life today, I heard recently, I am the wealthiest I've ever been. And someday I might have money in the bank. But I am rich beyond my wildest dreams. and I can serve. The women that I meet and I work with, even if they are not in recovery, the the path of a woman's sobriety and a woman's place, and um, it's different. It's different on this side of the seat.
Yeah.
But the just being able to be aware, walk in awareness that God is everywhere. And He might be compelling me to do or say or smile or be that little beacon of hope
Mm.
in somebody's life. Nothing is too small.
That's awesome. Well, if we're sitting here now with all that is being said, and someone's tuned out or tuned in, if you're speaking to a lady, rather than us look at each other, I want you to just look at that camera when you start talking. What would you say to someone, specifically a lady, right? Specifically to a lady that's where you were when you woke up there in that hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there is a way out, that there is hope. Like what would, and they're worth it. What would you say to them so that they could be sitting where you are
Mm.
now?
Wow. You are not alone. I didn't know how I would get to this seat, but I started right there where you are. Asking for help is not something that comes second nature, but asking for help from people who have been there and have gotten to this side of it, that is huge. Being able to know that I don't know it all, that I can find um, good people that can help show the way. I can listen, I can follow instructions. That also doesn't come second nature. But there is hope. I have to have forgiveness of myself. But for my past life, my past transgressions, I did the best I could with the knowledge I had and who I was at the time. And I had to let God in first. I have to be grateful for where I am. And I promise you it does get better. Just reach out for help.
Man, thank you for sharing that. We can get you connected directly with Donna through Vision Warriors website. If you go on to visionwarriors.org, more info, and just say, hey, I want to talk to Donna. They can do it there. You can find her on Facebook and Instagram. We'll have some contact information in the description of the video here. So if they want to reach out personally to you, I'm grateful for what you do. Grateful for who you serve. Not just here, but your heavenly Father who you serve, and it lives out daily. I get to benefit from it because your willingness to give away what's been given to you. So,
Can I share one more thing?
it's going to cost you $500, but go right ahead.
Whatever. Take it out of the bill.
Take it out of your appearance fee. Okay.
What I do in the morning when I get ready, but routine. But I wear this for whose I am. I wear this for whose I am. And this is my sobriety date. A friend of mine, actually his girlfriend from high school, made it for me.
That's a whole nother episode.
I used to babysit
right there.
her, so that's a whole nother.
Oh, now we're getting.
That's
all
a
right.
whole other story. But when I put my sobriety date on and I buckle it on, I just ask God to be with me that day. And like you said, when we go to the rooms of AA, people want to pray to a doorknob or believe that's their higher power. When I hold that doorknob and I go in, I bring God with me.
Amen.
Bless everybody that touches this doorknob. So.
And I'll say, I don't want to dig on all 12-step things because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for it. I just would love to see revival break out in some 12-step communities, because if we can see revival break out there, imagine what the overall community, market, whatever you want to say, would feel and experience if those, the least of us viewed by most, right, that are lost in this and causing all the problems, if it were breaking out there and really helping shape a community and a culture, would be pretty awesome to see. And so I'm grateful for every 12-step support group, whatever they believe, they are gathering together for a single purpose to help the next person find where they are and get to where they are. And that's simply going to be, we can't dog it for that. I just would like to see a little bit more Jesus in there. But you just challenged me on something that when I touched the doorknob, to invite him in that with me, and as well as to touch every person that touches the doorknob. It's pretty awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having
And guys,
me.
look, if you're watching this, when a lady says, "Hey, can I share one more thing?" or "Hey, I got something else," that's years of training that I still mess up on occasionally. But I'm like, oh, sure, of course you can, And I'm glad that you did and felt compelled to share that because it's awesome. So
Thank you.
check back next week for another great episode of Cattwampus.